Close your eyes for a moment. Take in a deep breath and let the noise of the day drift far away. Tonight, you are not surrounded by walls or screens. You are not weighed down by worries or the endless ticking of clocks. Instead, you are stepping into another time, another world. You are standing at the edge of the Aegean Sea. The waves lap softly against the shore, glowing silver under a full moon. The air is warm, carrying the scent of olives and wild thyme, mixed with the faint crackle of firewood. The night is alive, but it is not hurried. It moves gently, like the tide. Somewhere in the distance, the soft notes of a lyre float across the air, weaving through the stillness like a lullaby. You walk slowly across the beach, your steps quiet against the smooth stones. Ahead, you see a circle of villagers gathered around a great fire. Their faces glow in the flickering light, eyes wide with anticipation. You are drawn toward them, as though your place has been waiting for you all along. Someone gestures for you to sit. You settle into the circle, and the fire warms your skin. Around you, people lean in close, their voices hushed. Children rest their heads on their parents' shoulders. Old men stroke their beards, smiling knowingly. And in the center, a storyteller rises. His cloak is simple, his face lined with years, but his eyes shine as if holding the secrets of the stars. When he speaks, the world seems to pause. The waves hush, the lyre stills, even the wind bends low to listen. Long ago, he begins, his voice calm and steady. Before the world was as you see it, there was only chaos. The circle falls silent. You feel it too, a quiet awe, a curiosity stirring in your chest. But before the tale dives into gods and monsters, the storyteller looks around at every face, including yours. These stories you are about to hear, he says softly, are not just about gods who ruled from mountains or heroes who fought with swords. They are about us. They are about you. They are about what it means to dream, to fear, to love, and to endure. The names may sound strange, the places far away, but the truth inside them is eternal. When Zeus raises his thunderbolt, he is the storm within us. When Hera burns with jealousy, she is the ache of betrayal. When Odysseus longs for home, we all feel that pull, for every soul longs for belonging. These myths are not dead. They live because we live. The fire pops, sending sparks into the night. Above, the stars shimmer like watchful eyes. You notice how vast the sky feels, how endless the world is when you sit beneath it with nothing but stories to guide you. The storyteller steps closer to the fire, and for a moment, you think you see something shimmer in the flames, not just wood and smoke, but images. The outline of a great mountain, tall and proud, the shadow of a sea god rising from the waves, the soft glow of a goddess cradling wisdom in her hands. The fire itself seems to whisper, telling you that these stories are alive and they have been waiting for you. Every myth, the storyteller continues, is a mirror. Look closely, and you will see yourself reflected. Do not think of these tales as distant or strange. Think of them as guides, as companions, as old friends. For just as the night sky holds constellations shaped like heroes and beasts, so too does your own life hold patterns, struggles, and triumphs. Tonight, you will begin to see them. You shift slightly, the warmth of the fire easing the tension in your body. The calm voice wraps around you like a blanket, slow and steady, never rushing. Your eyelids feel heavier, but your curiosity keeps them open. You want to know more. The storyteller points to the stars above. Do you see them? The hunter, the swan, the bull? To the Greeks, these were not just stars. They were reminders, carved into the heavens by the gods. Every night, when they looked up, they saw their stories written in light. Imagine that, traveler. Every trial, every victory, every loss immortalized so none would be forgotten. The thought lingers. Perhaps your own struggles, too, are like stars, small in the moment, but eternal when looked at from afar. Perhaps that is what these myths offer, the chance to see your life as something larger, more meaningful, more connected to the great story of humanity. The storyteller lowers his voice now, almost a whisper, as though he is letting you in on a secret. But before the gods, before the stars, before heroes and monsters, there was nothing but chaos. From chaos came the first mother, Gaia, the earth itself. From her came the sky, Uranus, and from their union came the Titans. And so the world began. The fire crackles louder as if in agreement. A breeze stirs the air, carrying the salt of the sea and the promise of stories yet untold. The storyteller smiles. And so, traveler, your journey begins. Sit closer, open your heart, let go of the weight you carry. For tonight the myths will speak not only of gods and legends, but of you. And as you listen, perhaps you will find what you have been searching for: peace, strength, or simply the gentle rhythm of a story to guide you into dreams. The lyre begins again, its strings humming like a heartbeat beneath the night sky. The villagers lean forward, and you lean with them. The story has opened its door, and now, together, we step by the origins of the world, keeping the narration calm, immersive, and deeply descriptive. The goal is to teach, relax, and inspire at the same time, so the audience feels they are inside the myth while also relating it to themselves. This part will gradually unfold the cosmogony: chaos, Gaia, Uranus, the Titans, and the rise of the Olympians. The storyteller leans closer to the fire, his shadow dancing against the stone walls around you. His voice softens, but it carries a weight that seems older than time itself. Before there was earth beneath your feet, before the waves of the sea, before the sun or moon or stars, there was only chaos. Not chaos as you know it, noise, confusion, disorder, but a vast emptiness, a yawning gap. Imagine the darkest night, but without stars. Imagine silence so deep it seems to swallow even thought. That was chaos, the beginning of all things. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the idea sink in. You can almost feel it, an endless space, neither frightening nor kind, just waiting. A canvas without color, a stage without players. From chaos, the storyteller continues, emerge the first powers of existence. Gaia, the earth, solid and nurturing. She was the great mother, the ground upon which all life would walk. Then came Tartarus, the deep abyss, the pit beneath the earth, a place of shadows and confinement. Then came Nyx, the night herself, veiled in mystery, and her brother Erebus, the darkness between. And with them came Eros, the spark of love, the force that would bind creation together. From the emptiness, life had begun. The fire crackles louder, as though applauding the birth of the cosmos. You imagine Gaia stretching herself wide, forming mountains, valleys, and rivers. You see Nyx pulling a cloak of stars across the sky, and somewhere within the darkness, you sense the pulse of Eros, the first heartbeat of connection. Gaia, the earth, longed for balance, so she brought forth Uranus, the sky. He arched over her like a great dome, covering her with shimmering stars. And together, earth and sky became the first pair, giving birth to the Titans. The storyteller pauses, letting the names fall like stones into still water. Oceanus, who wrapped the world in rivers; Hyperion, the light; Theia, the shining one; Mnemosyne, memory itself; Cronus, the youngest but most cunning; and many more, each vast, each powerful, each a force of nature given form. They were not yet gods as we know them, but Titans, great and primeval. You feel a shiver as you picture them, colossal beings striding across the raw earth, their footsteps carving mountains, their breath stirring the winds. These were the first rulers, ancient beyond imagination. But even in the beginning, the storyteller says softly, there was struggle, Uranus, the sky, feared his children. He pressed them deep into the earth, forcing them back into Gaia's womb. She groaned beneath the weight, aching, longing to see her children free. And so, she turned to her youngest titan, Cronus. She placed in his hand a sickle made of unbreakable stone. With it, he struck against his father, and the blood of Uranus fell upon the earth, giving rise to the Furies, the giants, and the nymphs of ash trees. From the sea foam where the blood touched the waves, another power would one day be born, Aphrodite, goddess of love. The fire flickers brighter, as though the story itself burns in its flames. You feel the tension in the tale, the clash of parent and child, the cycle of fear and defiance. And yet, there is something deeply human in it. How often do we, too, struggle with the weight of what came before us? How often must we break free of what confines us to become something new? Cronus rose as king of the cosmos. He ruled with his sister wife, Rhea, and together they gave birth to children: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus. But Cronus carried the same fear as his father. He had heard a prophecy that one of his children would overthrow him, just as he had overthrown Uranus. And so, when each child was born, Cronus swallowed them whole. The villagers around the fire lean in closer, their eyes wide. Even though they have heard this story before, the tension never fades. You too feel it. Imagine a mother, Rhea, holding her newborn in her arms, only to watch it taken and devoured by the very man who should protect them. Rhea wept, the storyteller says, his voice trembling like a low wind. But she was clever. When her youngest, Zeus, was born, she hid him away in a cave on the island of Crete. Instead of the baby, she wrapped a stone in swaddling cloth and gave it to Cronus. He swallowed it, thinking his son had been devoured like the rest. But Zeus grew in secret, nursed by the goat Amalthea, guarded by spirits who drowned out his cries with the clash of shields. A faint smile passes the storyteller's lips. And so, the cycle continued. From chaos came Gaia. From Gaia came Uranus. From Uranus came Cronus. And from Cronus would rise Zeus, who would change the fate of gods and men alike. You feel the rhythm of the story now, like waves building toward a shore. The fire's warmth seeps into your bones. The calm voice lulls you, but the curiosity keeps you wide awake. You want to know what happens next. The storyteller looks into the flames, and for a moment, his eyes seem far away. Do you see the pattern, traveler? Power gives birth to fear. Fear gives birth to violence. Yet from each struggle, something new emerges. The Greeks knew this truth well, that even gods are bound by fate, and that every ending is also a beginning. The wind stirs, carrying sparks upward into the starry night. You tilt your head back, gazing at the constellations. Perhaps the Titans are still there, written in the heavens. Perhaps the gods never truly leave. Zeus, the storyteller says firmly, would one day rise against his father. He would free his brothers and sisters from the belly of Cronus, and together they would wage war against the Titans. This war, the Titanomachy, would shake the cosmos, and when it ended, a new order would rise, the Olympians. And from their throne on Mount Olympus, they would weave the stories you are about to hear. The fire crackles one last time before quieting, as if it too waits for what comes next. The villagers murmur softly, some nodding in recognition, others whispering with wonder. And you, traveler, feel yourself pulled deeper still, eager for the next chapter. The storyteller's voice lowers, soft as a lullaby. Remember this, as you drift with the stories, all creation begins in silence. From chaos came everything, from darkness, light, from stillness, motion, and from fear, hope. The myths are not just about gods and heroes. They are about you, finding light after darkness, finding strength after struggle, finding love after loss. He raises his hand, and the sparks of the fire lift like stars. Now, let us step into the age of the gods. The storyteller adjusts his cloak and takes a deep breath, as if the weight of the tale itself rests on his shoulders. His voice, though calm, now carries the rhythm of thunder in the distance. Zeus, the hidden child, grew strong. He drank the milk of Amalthea, the sacred goat, and the nymphs cared for him as though he were their own. They shielded him with songs, with laughter, with the clash of bronze against bronze, so that his cries would never reach the ears of Cronus. Even as a child, Zeus carried within him a fire, a certainty that his destiny was greater than the shadows he had been born into. You picture the cave, dark, yet safe. Outside, the winds of Crete rush through tall cliffs, the sea roars below, but within the cave, there is warmth, protection, and purpose. The boy Zeus sleeps soundly, unaware that the world waits for him to awaken. Time passed, the storyteller continues, and when Zeus had come of age, he returned in secret to confront his father. But wisdom guided him, for strength alone was not enough. He sought the aid of Metis, the goddess of cunning and wisdom. She gave him a potion, one that would make Cronus disgorge what he had swallowed. You lean in closer, imagining the moment. Cronus, proud and immense, sitting upon his throne. Zeus approaches quietly, his eyes sharp with determination. With the drink in his hand, he bows respectfully, disguising his intent. Cronus, unsuspecting, swallows the potion. And then, the storyteller whispers, the earth shook. Cronus convulsed, and one by one, his children returned to the light: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. The gods were reborn, not as infants, but as full-grown beings, radiant with power. Reunited, they turned their gaze toward their father and knew the time had come. The fire blazes high, as if mirroring the power of the gods. You can almost hear the clamor of shields, the roar of battle rising in the distance. And so began the Titanomachy, the war of gods and titans. For 10 years the heavens trembled. The titans, led by Cronus, fought with the force of mountains crashing into sea. The young gods, led by Zeus, struck with lightning, with wisdom, with courage. Neither side yielded, and the world itself groaned beneath their struggle. The storyteller pauses, letting the weight of the war sink into your mind. You imagine the titans towering, their bodies vast and indestructible. You see the gods, smaller but quicker, wielding fire and cunning. The battles rage across valleys, over oceans, in the very skies above. Yet even the strongest warriors cannot win alone, he says gently. Zeus sought allies where others saw none. He descended into the depths of Tartarus, where the Cyclopes and the Hecatoncheires had been imprisoned by Uranus long before. The Cyclopes, with one great eye each, were masters of craft. The Hecatoncheires, with 100 hands, were mighty beyond measure. Zeus freed them, and in gratitude, they gave him gifts. To Zeus, they gave the thunderbolt, crackling with raw power. To Poseidon, they gave the trident, a weapon that shook the seas. To Hades, they gave the helm of invisibility, a crown of shadows. And with these, the tide of war began to turn. You imagine Zeus raising the thunderbolt for the first time. The sky splits open, light blazes, brighter than the sun. The titans falter, struck by a force they had never known. Poseidon slams his trident into the waves, and the oceans rise like walls. Hades vanishes into the dark, unseen, striking from shadows. The war is no longer balanced. At last, the storyteller says, the Olympians triumphed. Cronus and the Titans fell, defeated, and with heavy chains, the gods bound them and cast them into Tartarus, that deep abyss beneath the earth, guarded forever by the Hecatonchires. The age of the Titans had ended. The age of the Olympians had begun. The villagers around you exhale together, as though they too had been holding their breath. Some smile, others nod. Victory feels sweet, even when told through story. The storyteller looks at you directly now. His eyes are soft but piercing, as though he speaks to your soul and not just your ears. Do you see, traveler? Even the smallest can rise against the mighty. Even the forgotten child, hidden in a cave, can become a king of gods. The story of Zeus is not only the story of thunder, it is the story of hope. It is the story of overcoming what seemed impossible. The fire quiets, glowing steady and low. The storyteller's voice softens again, carrying you back into calm. After their victory, the Olympians divided the cosmos. Zeus, the eldest in spirit, became king of the sky and ruler of gods and men. Poseidon, his brother, took the sea, mastering its tides and storms. Hades, silent and solemn, became lord of the underworld, keeper of souls. Together they held dominion over all that was. He raises a finger, pointing upward to the mountain that looms in the distance. Its peak pierces the clouds, crowned in eternal snow, yet glowing with an otherworldly light. And upon Mount Olympus, the gods built their throne. From there, they watched over the world, not always kindly, not always fairly, but always with power. And so began the reign of the Olympians, whose stories would echo through ages. The circle of villagers remained silent, as though reluctant to break the spell. The waves lap gently against the shore, the stars twinkle above, and you feel yourself caught between waking and dreaming. The storyteller closes his eyes for a moment, his voice now like the last note of a lullaby. Remember this: every beginning is born from chaos. Every struggle births strength, and from every fall, something rises. The gods themselves remind us that no darkness is eternal. Even in the deepest night, light will find its way. He lets the words settle, as soft as ash drifting from the fire. Then, after a long silence, he opens his eyes again. Now, traveler, you are ready to walk with the gods, to hear their tales, to see how their lives mirror your own. For on Olympus, the stories have only just begun. The fire dims, the villagers close their eyes, and you too feel yourself drifting, safe, calm, yet eager for what awaits. And so ends the tale of beginnings. But the myths continue. The fire glows lower now, no longer fierce with the storms of war, but steady, warm, and calm. The storyteller's voice softens again, like a river that has passed through rapids and now flows gently into the valley. The Titans have fallen. The chains of Tartarus hold them deep beneath the earth, and above, a new order rises. The Olympians, the 12 who sit upon the shining thrones of Mount Olympus. From their peak, they look upon the world of men, guiding, testing, blessing, and sometimes punishing. These are not distant shadows. They are as close as the breath you take, for their stories still live within you. Listen, traveler, and you will hear them. You will know them. You will see yourself in them. The flames shimmer, and in the glow you see the faint outlines of figures, tall and radiant, crowned with light and shadow. One by one they step forward. The storyteller raises his hand. First comes Zeus. The image of a king appears in the fire. His eyes flash like lightning, his shoulders strong as mountains, his voice like the rumble of a storm. He carries the thunderbolt, and with it he commands the skies. Zeus, son of Cronus and Rhea, freed from the belly of his father, now reigns as king of gods and men. The clouds are his cloak, the eagle his messenger, and the oak his sacred tree. To him, the Cyclopes gave the thunderbolt, a weapon of light that strikes with the fury of the heavens. He rules with authority, yet he is not without flaws. For Zeus, mighty though he is still a reflection of us. His power is vast, but so are his desires. His judgment is strong, but so is his temper. He is the sky itself, calm and endless at times, storming and unpredictable at others. You imagine Zeus sitting upon his golden throne atop Olympus, the winds swirling around him, the air itself bending to his command. And yet, you also see him walking among mortals, disguised as a stranger, testing the kindness of those who do not know him. From Zeus, we learn the balance of strength and justice, the storyteller says gently. He reminds us that leadership is not only about power, but about responsibility. When you face storms in your own life, traveler, think of Zeus. His thunder may be fierce, but beyond it always comes the clear sky. Every storm ends, every burden passes, and within you too lies a sky that cannot be broken. The fire shifts, and another figure takes form, tall, proud, regal, with eyes as sharp as steel. A woman crowned with gold, draped in flowing robes, her presence commanding respect. Hera, the storyteller whispers, queen of the gods, sister and wife to Zeus, goddess of marriage, protector of women, guardian of the bonds that hold families together. To mortals, she was both feared and honored, for her blessings were great, but her anger could be fierce. Many myths speak of her jealousy, her wrath against the unfaithful, her vengeance against rivals. Yet beneath these tales lies a deeper truth. Hera is the voice that demands respect. She is the reminder that love without loyalty is fragile. She is the strength of devotion, the dignity of bonds that cannot be broken. You picture her seated beside Zeus, not hidden in his shadow, but radiant in her own right. Her crown glows like firelight, her gaze unwavering. Hera shows us the weight of love. The storyteller says softly. She reminds us that commitment is not easy, that bonds are tested, yet they endure. In her, we see both the pain of betrayal and the strength to demand honor. When you, traveler, feel overlooked, remember Hera. She stands tall, unyielding, her crown unshaken. The fire flickers again, and now the sea rises in its glow. Waves crash, endless and eternal. From the foam steps a figure broad-shouldered, his hair dark like the deep ocean, his trident gleaming in his hand. Poseidon, the storyteller intones, his voice low, rolling like waves. Lord of the sea, brother of Zeus, brother of Hades. To him fell the oceans, the rivers, the tides. His moods shift like the waters he commands, sometimes calm and sparkling, sometimes storming and merciless. Sailors prayed to him for safe journeys, but feared his rage, for a single strike of his trident could shatter ships and shake the earth itself. You feel the salt air on your lips, hear the roar of waves in your ears. Poseidon's presence is vast, untamed, and eternal. Poseidon teaches us the truth of emotions, the storyteller says. Like the sea, our hearts rise and fall. There are days when we are calm, still as a lake at dawn, and days when we are storms, wild and fierce. Poseidon reminds us that both are part of life. Do not fear the waves within you, traveler, for even the storm eventually returns to peace. The fire glows darker now, dimming like twilight. A chill brushes your skin, and you feel as though you are descending beneath the earth. Out of the shadows steps a solemn figure, his face pale, his eyes deep as night. He wears no crown of gold, but a helm of invisibility, silent and powerful. Hades, the storyteller whispers, and even the villagers shift uncomfortably at the name. Lord of the underworld, keeper of souls. He is not cruel, as many fear, but just. He does not take life. He receives it when its time has passed. His realm is not of fire, but of silence, shadow, and eternal rest. You imagine the underworld, not terrifying but calm. A quiet river flowing, fields stretching endlessly, souls drifting peacefully like leaves on water. Hades teaches us acceptance, the storyteller says gently. He reminds us that all journeys end, and that endings are not to be feared, but embraced as part of the cycle. Without endings, there can be no beginnings. Without death, there can be no life. When you fear loss, remember Hades. His realm is not punishment, it is rest. And from rest comes renewal. The fire glimmers brighter again, and now a figure steps forward, armored yet graceful. Her eyes are keen, her movement swift, her presence calm but commanding. An owl perches upon her shoulder, and in her hand she carries a spear, not for bloodlust, but for justice. Athena, the storyteller says, his voice carrying quiet reverence. Born from the head of Zeus, fully grown and armored, goddess of wisdom, strategy, and war, not war for chaos, but for order. She is the guardian of cities, the friend of heroes, the voice of reason in the clamor of battle. She favors not the strongest, but the cleverest. She rewards those who think, who plan, who act with patience and purpose. You see her standing upon the walls of Athens, her namesake city, guiding the people with fairness, her wisdom shaping their lives. Athena reminds us that true strength is not only in muscle, but in mind. Traveler, when you face trials, do not rush blindly. Think, plan, be patient as the owl is patient. Wisdom is your shield, just as much as courage. The storyteller's voice grows softer now, like the sound of a harp. The firelight shimmers gold, and another figure appears. Youthful, radiant, golden-haired, carrying a lyre in one hand and a bow in the other. His face glows like sunlight, his presence warm and bright. Apollo, the storyteller says with a smile, god of the sun, of music, of prophecy, of healing, a god of harmony, who guides the world with light. His chariot carries the sun across the sky each day, bringing warmth and life. His songs heal the soul, his words reveal the future. He is both healer and archer, both gentleness and precision, a reminder that beauty and power can live together in balance. You hear the faint echo of his lyre, its strings soft and sweet, like light upon the water. Apollo shows us balance, the storyteller whispers, that in you too, strength and gentleness can live side by side. That light exists not only to shine, but to heal. And when your path feels dark, remember Apollo. Light will always return. The fire flickers, and with it comes a cool breeze. The glow softens into silver, and a figure appears, twin to Apollo yet different. Her hair is dark, her gaze fierce, her bow ready. She moves like the moonlight itself, quiet, watchful, free. Artemis, the storyteller whispers, goddess of the hunt, of the wilderness, of the moon, protector of the young, guardian of animals, friend to those who wander in solitude. She walks among forests, her arrows swift, her steps silent. She is freedom itself, the wild that cannot be tamed. You picture the moon above, cool and calm, watching over the night. You feel the stillness of a forest, the hush of leaves, the strength of silence. Artemis teaches us independence, the storyteller says. She reminds us that solitude is not loneliness, but strength. That freedom is sacred, that nature is a temple. When you feel alone, traveler, remember Artemis. She walks with you in the silence. The storyteller pauses, his gaze moving slowly around the circle. His voice lowers, softer, slower, like the deep hush of the sea at night. There are more gods yet, traveler. Ares, fierce with rage. Aphrodite, radiant with love. Hephaestus, master of fire and craft. Hermes, swift as the wind. Dionysus, god of joy and madness. Each one carries a piece of the human soul, each one a lesson waiting to be heard. And as we speak of them, you will come to know not only the gods, but yourself. For the stories of Olympus are the stories of us all. The fire glows steady, calm, patient. The storyteller closes his eyes for a moment, as though to rest, then opens them again, ready to continue. Excellent. We'll continue. Part 3. The Olympians in one continuous narration, flowing smoothly through the remaining gods, Ares, Aphrodite, Hephaestus, Hermes, and Dionysus, until this section is complete at around 10,000 words total. No breaks, no chapter stops, just calm, immersive storytelling, like a single long breath that carries the listener deeper into the myths. The storyteller gazes into the fire, and the flames grow higher for a moment, their glow turning red, fierce, alive with movement. Sparks leap like weapons striking in battle. Out of the blaze steps a figure broad and strong, clad in armor, his eyes burning with fury. His sword gleams, his shield drips with the sweat of war. Ares, the storyteller says, his voice heavier now, a low thunder. God of war, son of Zeus and Hera, the clash of spears, the roar of armies, the rage that drives men into battle. All these belong to him. Where he walks, blood follows. Where he shouts, men tremble. He is not the wisdom of war, nor the justice of battle. That belongs to Athena. Ares is the roar itself, the storm, the fury that blinds. The villagers stir slightly, uneasy. You too feel the heat, the violence in the air, the weight of Ares' presence. But hear this, traveler, the storyteller continues, softening his tone. Though Ares is feared, he is also truth, for within each of us lies anger, rage, fire that can burn bright or consume us whole. To deny it is to lie to yourself. To face it is to find balance. Ares reminds us that fury is part of life, but fury must be mastered, or it masters us. When you feel anger rise, think of Ares. Honor the fire, but do not let it scorch you. The fire shifts again, calming, softening. Its glow becomes golden, radiant, warm. Out of the light steps a figure so beautiful, so luminous, that even the villagers seem to sigh. Her hair flows like waves, her eyes shine like the dawn, and every movement she makes carries grace. Aphrodite, the storyteller whispers, born from the foam of the sea, rising where the blood of Uranus touched the waves, goddess of love, of beauty, of desire. Her presence turns heads, her smile melts hearts. She is the passion that stirs within, the longing that draws two souls together, the tenderness that heals, and the fire that consumes. You imagine her walking across the shore, seashells scattering beneath her feet, the waves parting in reverence. Birds sing at her passing, flowers bloom in her steps. Aphrodite reminds us that love is more than sweetness, the storyteller says softly. It is power. It can build or destroy, heal or wound, free or bind. It is the force that makes us human, the longing that drives us. When you feel love, traveler, in friendship, in passion, in kindness, you touch the divine. For in love, the gods breathe through us. The fire grows hotter now, not with battle, but with craft. Sparks fly not from swords, but from hammers striking anvils. Out of the glow comes a figure bent but unbroken, his arms strong, his face scarred, his eyes steady. In his hands he holds tools, and with them he shapes wonders from fire and stone. Hephaestus, the storyteller says, nodding with respect, god of the forge, master of fire, craftsman of Olympus, cast down at birth for his lameness, mocked for his limp, yet he rose stronger than those who scorned him. From his hands came the armor of heroes, the weapons of gods, the beauty of jewelry, the strength of machines. Though his body was scarred, his spirit blazed bright. He turned pain into power, rejection into creation. You picture him working at the forge, sweat shining on his brow, sparks flying around him like stars. Each strike of his hammer echoes with patience, with endurance, with triumph. Hephaestus teaches us resilience, the storyteller says softly, that what others see as weakness can become strength. that scars can shape greatness, that labor, persistence, and patience create wonders. When you feel broken, remember Hephaestus. Broken things, too, can shine. The fire shimmers again, quickening now, moving fast, sparks leaping like wings. A figure appears, young and swift, his sandals winged, his smile quick, his eyes alive with cleverness. He holds a staff entwined with serpents, and his steps are so light they barely touch the earth. Hermes, the storyteller says, his tone quickening. Messenger of the gods, god of travelers, of trade, of thieves, of speech. Swift as the wind, cunning as shadow, clever as fire. He carries words across worlds, guiding souls to the underworld, guiding merchants across seas, guiding ideas from lips to ears. He is the bridge between realms, the companion of wanderers. You imagine him racing across the sky, his sandals flashing, his laughter echoing. You see him whispering secrets into the ears of heroes, carrying dreams to mortals as they sleep. Hermes teaches us movement, the storyteller says, that life is not meant to be still, that we are wanderers, travelers, seekers. He reminds us to be clever, to adapt, to find paths where none seem open. When you feel lost, traveler, think of Hermes. The road is never closed. There is always a way forward. The fire glows deeper now, shifting into purple and gold. Music rises, laughter echoes, cups clink. Out of the glow steps a figure crowned with ivy, a cup of wine in his hand, his smile both gentle and wild. His eyes sparkle with joy, yet behind them lies mystery, even madness. Dionysus, the storyteller says with a laugh, god of wine, of joy, of ecstasy, of theater. He brings celebration, the dance of life, the sweetness of grapes, the fire of passion. Yet he also brings frenzy, madness, the loss of self in chaos. He is freedom, both beautiful and dangerous. He is the breaking of chains, the song sung too loud, the dance danced too long. To mortals, he was beloved, for in his festivals, even the poorest found joy, even the saddest found release. You hear music now, drums beating, flutes calling, feet stamping upon the earth. You see faces lit with laughter, tears, passion. Dionysus reminds us that life is not only toil, the storyteller says softly. That joy is sacred, that laughter heals, that release is as holy as restraint. He teaches us to feel deeply, to live fully, to remember that the divine is found not only in temples, but in song, in dance, in wine, in love. When you feel weary, traveler, remember Dionysus. Life is not a burden to carry, it is a cup to drink. The fire steadies now, calm and glowing, as though it has given all its faces. Around it stand the 12 Olympians, each radiant, each powerful, each carrying their lessons. Zeus with his thunder, Hera with her crown, Poseidon with his trident, Hades with his helm, Athena with her spear, Apollo with his lyre, Artemis with her bow, Ares with his rage, Aphrodite with her beauty, Hephaestus with his forge, Hermes with his staff, Dionysus with his cup. The storyteller's voice grows soft, like the final note of a song. These are the Olympians, traveler, the 12 who ruled from Olympus. They were not perfect, they were not flawless, they were reflections of power, of love, of anger, of wisdom, of joy, of sorrow. To worship them was to worship life itself, with all its triumphs and all its flaws. They remind us that to be human is to feel everything, strength and weakness, love and loss, joy and despair. They are gods, yes, but they are also us. The fire lowers, the night deepens. The storyteller looks around the circle, his eyes resting on each face. Then his gaze finds yours. Remember their lessons. When you face storms, think of Zeus. When you feel unseen, think of Hera. When your heart rises and falls, think of Poseidon. When you fear endings, think of Hades. When you seek wisdom, think of Athena. When you long for light, think of Apollo. When you find strength in solitude, think of Artemis. When anger burns, think of Ares. When love consumes, think of Aphrodite. When scars weigh you down, think of Hephaestus. When the road is dark, think of Hermes. When life feels heavy, think of Dionysus. For in their myths, you will always find yourself. The flames sink lower, glowing only as embers now. The stars above shine brighter. The sea whispers against the shore. You close your eyes, and for a moment you feel it. Olympus above you, eternal, watching, guiding. The storyteller's final words drift into your ears like a lullaby. Sleep now, traveler, for the gods are near. Their stories have only begun. The fire in the storyteller's circle burns low, but its glow changes once more. It no longer shows the gods in their brilliance, but the faces of mortals, men and women who stood in the shadow of Olympus, yet dared to carve their own names into eternity. The storyteller leans closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. The gods may rule the heavens, but it is the heroes who walk the earth. And it is through them, traveler, that we see what it means to be human. Fragile, flawed, yet capable of greatness that even gods envy. Do you wish to know them? The villagers nod. You feel yourself nodding too. The air is thick with anticipation. The flames dance, and a figure begins to take shape. A young man, standing alone at the edge of a shore. His cloak is simple, but in his hand gleams a sword, not of this world. His eyes are steady, though fear trembles beneath them. Behind him, the sea churns. Before him, a monster waits. A creature with scales that shimmer like polished stone, wings spread wide, fangs sharp as blades. The storyteller smiles. This is Perseus. The villagers lean in. Even the children straighten. You too feel your pulse quicken. Perseus, son of Zeus, yet mortal in flesh. A boy given an impossible task, to slay Medusa, the Gorgon whose gaze turned men to stone. Imagine it, traveler, to stand before such a creature, knowing a single glance could freeze your blood forever. Yet Perseus did not turn away. With the gifts of the gods, a mirrored shield from Athena, winged sandals from Hermes, a sword of divine steel, he faced the monster. Step by step, he crept closer. He did not look into her eyes, only into the shield. Her breath was poison, her hiss a curse. The darkness swirled around him like death itself. The fire crackles loudly. You feel your breath catch, as if you are standing with Perseus, your hands trembling on the hilt of the sword. And then, one strike, swift, certain, and the monster was no more. The villagers exhale. You feel yourself exhale too, your chest loosening. But Perseus's story does not end with the Gorgon, the storyteller says, his eyes gleaming. For heroes are never tested only once. With Medusa's head, he turned enemies to stone. He freed Andromeda, chained to the rocks as sacrifice to a sea beast. He journeyed across the lands, facing dangers beyond telling. And yet, what is Perseus truly remembered for? Not just his victories, but his courage to face what all others feared. He reminds us that fear is not the enemy. Fear is the gate, and only by stepping through it can you claim your destiny. The fire shifts, darker now, heavier. Sparks leap like burning stars, and out of them rises a figure taller than any man, broad-shouldered, his muscles carved like stone. In his eyes burns sorrow and fury, and in his hands he carries a club as large as a tree. This, the storyteller says slowly, is Heracles. The villagers murmur. Even the stars above seem to lean closer. Heracles, son of Zeus and a mortal woman, a man cursed with strength beyond imagining, but also cursed with trials beyond measure. Struck with madness, he committed a crime too dark to name, and to atone, he was given 12 labors. 12 tasks so impossible they would have broken any other man. The Argonauts sail onward, and at last, the storyteller says, his voice lowering, they reached Colchis, the land where the golden fleece was guarded. The fleece itself, glowing like fire, hung upon an oak tree, watched over by a dragon that never slept. The fire reveals it. The dragon coils around the tree, its eyes like burning coals, its breath hot as flame. The fleece shimmers, golden, radiant, almost alive. Jason's task was hopeless. Aeetes the king demanded he yoke fire-breathing bulls, sow the earth with dragon's teeth, and fight the warriors who sprang from them. No man could succeed, and yet, he did not stand alone. For Medea, moved by love, or perhaps by destiny, aided him. With her magic, the bulls were tamed. With her wisdom, the warriors were turned upon each other. And at last, with her spells, the dragon's eyes closed, its coils loosened. Jason seized the fleece, and the Argonauts fled into the night. The villagers lean forward, their faces glowing in the fire. You feel your own chest rise with triumph. But every gift carries a cost, the storyteller says softly, the fire dimming. Medea betrayed her father for Jason. She left her home, her family, her kingdom. She gave all, and in time she would lose all. For love, as the gods teach us, is both the brightest flame and the darkest shadow. The fire falls quiet. Only embers now, glowing red, like the heart of the dragon still beating. The storyteller looks around the circle. His voice is low but steady, carrying the calm weight of truth. And so the Argonauts returned with the fleece. But Jason's story was not one of triumph alone. His greatest victories were bound to his greatest sorrows. And in that traveler, he is like us all, for no one sails through life unscarred. The sea gives, and the sea takes. But what matters is that we dare the voyage. He lets the silence linger. The villagers breathe slowly. You feel the sea still within you, the oars creaking, the sails full. You are still aboard the Argo, still sailing, and the storyteller's final words for the night drift like waves against the shore. Remember this, traveler. Every journey you take, every trial you face, you too are aboard your own Argo. You too have companions, allies, voices that guide you. And somewhere ahead, your own golden fleece waits. Do not fear the storms. Do not fear the dragons, for you are already a hero. The fire dims to ash. The night grows silent, and you close your eyes, calm but burning with quiet wonder. The storyteller stirs the ashes of the fire. For a moment it seems the flames have died, but then a soft wind passes and the embers glow again, pulsing like a heartbeat. Slowly, light grows, warm and golden, until it rises into a blaze that feels like dawn breaking over the horizon. The storyteller smiles faintly. Ah, traveler, you have sailed with Jason, but now it is time to follow another wanderer. His name is Odysseus, king of Ithaca, father, husband, warrior, trickster, survivor. Of all the heroes of Greece, his journey is the longest, and perhaps the truest to the heart. The fire shifts. You see a man upon a shore, his cloak torn, his face lined, his eyes tired yet burning with cunning. Behind him lies a sea endless and restless. Before him, far beyond, lies Ithaca, his home, his wife Penelope, his son Telemachus. But between him and home stretches 10 long years of trials. The storyteller's voice softens, lilts, like the rhythm of waves. It began with the Trojan War. For 10 years, the Greeks battled at the walls of Troy, and when brute force failed, it was Odysseus who devised the trick of the wooden horse, a gift, hollow within, hiding Greek warriors. Thus Troy fell. Victory was won, but the gods had seen, and Poseidon, lord of the sea, did not forgive. The flames leap, storms rise, ships scatter. You hear the crash of waves, the cries of sailors, the groan of timbers. Odysseus's voyage home had begun. First, the storyteller whispers, they came to the land of the lotus eaters, gentle folk who offered fruit sweeter than honey. But this fruit was no gift, for those who tasted it forgot their homes, their families, their very names. They wished only to stay and dream forever. Imagine it, traveler, to lose all burden of memory, to drift in bliss, never to feel pain again. Tempting, is it not? You feel the pull, the heaviness in your chest, as though the lotus were being offered to you now. But Odysseus knew. To forget one's pain is to forget one's self. And so, though it tore at their hearts, he dragged his men back to the ships, bound them to the oars, and sailed on. The fire darkens, shadows twist. You see a vast cave, and within it, a giant, the Cyclops, Polyphemus, one eye glaring, his hands thick as trees, his voice a roar like thunder. He seizes Odysseus' men, devouring them whole. The villagers gasp softly. You shiver. How does one fight a giant, traveler? The storyteller asks quietly. With strength? No. With wit. Odysseus called himself nobody. And when they blinded the monster with a burning stake, and his cries shook the island, he roared, "Nobody has hurt me." And so none came to help. The Cyclops was defeated. But as Odysseus fled, he cried his true name across the waves. And in that moment, Poseidon marked him for years of wandering. The fire hisses, sparks flying like foam upon the sea. The journey goes on. You see the floating island of Aeolus, master of the winds, who gave Odysseus a bag of breezes to guide him home, only for his men, curious and foolish, to open it, unleashing storms that drove them back. You see the Laestrygonians, giants hurling boulders, destroying ships until only one remained. And then, the fire glows violet. A woman appears, beautiful, radiant, dangerous. Her eyes shimmer like the horizon, Circe. She was a sorceress, the storyteller says, his voice rich, entrancing. She welcomed Odysseus's men, but with a wave of her hand she turned them into swine. Only with the help of Hermes, god of cunning, did Odysseus resist her charms. And yet, he stayed. For a year, a whole year in her halls of pleasure and song. Would you not be tempted, traveler, to forget the storm outside and live in ease? You feel the weight of the choice, the allure of rest, yet the ache of home burns stronger. And so Odysseus sailed again, but the sea held more perils still. The fire crackles louder. You hear singing, faint, sweet, irresistible. The sirens, women with voices that could unravel a man's soul, luring him to crash upon the rocks. Odysseus, wise, had himself bound to the mast, his ears open to their song, while his men, with ears plugged by wax, rode blindly on. Imagine it, traveler, to hear beauty so pure it breaks you, and yet know it is death. The villagers shift uneasily. You feel the echo of the siren's song in your own bones. Then, two shadows rise from the fire, monstrous and vast. On one side, a whirlpool that devours whole ships. On the other, a six-headed beast, fangs dripping, seizing sailors from the deck. Charybdis and Scylla. Between them, Odysseus sailed. He lost men, yes, but he endured. The fire dims. For a moment, silence. Then, the image of an island, golden and green. Upon it lies Calypso, a goddess, her beauty endless, her love eternal. She holds Odysseus in her arms, offering him immortality, if only he will stay. 7 years, the storyteller says softly, he remained with her. She loved him. She offered him eternity, but still his heart ached for Penelope, for home, for love not of perfection, but of truth. And so, at last, the gods relented. The sea released him. The fire glows brighter. You see Ithaca, the shores of home, the hills familiar, the palace waiting. Yet within the palace, suitors feasted, pressing Penelope to choose a new husband. For 20 years, she had waited. For 20 years, she had woven and unwoven her loom, a trick to delay her decision. Faithful, patient, strong. Odysseus, disguised as a beggar, entered, silent, watching, waiting, until at last, with bow in hand, he revealed himself. Arrow by arrow, he struck down the suitors. Vengeance was his. Home was his. The villagers exhale, long and slow. You feel your own chest rise and fall, as though you have traveled those 20 years yourself. The storyteller's eyes soften. His voice is gentle now, almost a lullaby. And so Odysseus found his way home, not by strength alone, but by cunning. Not by ease, but by endurance. Not by turning from hardship, but by walking through it. His journey was long, yes, but so is ours. And like him, traveler, we wander. We face storms, monsters, temptations. We are tested. We are lost. And yet, if we endure, if we remember who we are, the shore will come. Home will come. Love will come. The fire flickers low, golden, soft. The villagers sit in silence, eyes half closed, dreaming. You feel yourself drift, calm, as though the waves of the Odyssey are carrying you toward a quiet shore. Beautiful, let's drift deeper then, into the shadowed myths, the ones that stir the heart with sorrow and awe. These tales are not meant to frighten, but to remind us of the fragility of life, the mystery of destiny, and the beauty that even tragedy can hold. I will make it like a dream film, where the listener feels they are walking inside the myths, yet calm, curious, and completely immersed. The storyteller leans forward. The fire burns lower, softer now, the flames no longer leaping but glowing, as though a secret were about to be told. Traveler, he whispers, not all myths end in triumph. Some end in sorrow. And yet these stories are just as precious, for they remind us of what it means to be human, to dream, to hope, to fail, and still to live. Come, let me show you. The story of Olympus. The fire shapes itself into the gates of a city. Thebes, proud and strong, yet shadowed by a curse. Oedipus was a man who sought the truth. He was wise, clever, bold. When the Sphinx, a monster with the body of a lion and the face of a woman, terrorized Thebes, it was Oedipus who solved her riddle. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 at noon, and 3 in the evening? He answered, man. And so the Sphinx destroyed herself. Thebes was saved. The people crowned Oedipus king. The flames glow brighter, the crowd in the story cheering. But the storyteller's voice drops, heavy with shadow. Yet destiny cannot be outwitted. Long before his birth, it was prophesied that Oedipus would kill his father and marry his mother. To escape fate, his parents abandoned him. To escape fate, he fled the home of those he thought his parents. But by fleeing, he ran directly into destiny's arms. The fire twists. A road, a quarrel, a man slain. Oedipus, not knowing, had killed his true father. In Thebes, he married the widowed queen, not knowing she was his mother. The villagers shift uneasily. The fire dims, glowing like a wound. And when the truth came to light, Oedipus, in grief and horror, blinded himself. His wife, his mother, ended her life. He wandered the earth, sightless, a beggar king, a man who sought truth and found only sorrow. The storyteller looks into the embers. His voice softens, but still he teaches us that sometimes, no matter how we run, life leads us where it wills. And yet, even in blindness, Oedipus endured. He walked on. That, too, is a kind of courage. The story of Orpheus and Eurydice. The flames shift. Now they shimmer like starlight, delicate and musical. You hear the faint sound of a lyre, gentle as a lullaby. Orpheus was a poet, a musician. His songs were so beautiful that trees bent to hear, rivers paused, even stones seemed to weep. And he loved a woman named Eurydice, loved her more than life itself. The fire glows bright, showing their wedding day. But then, darkness. A snake strikes. Eurydice falls, pale, silent. Grief-stricken, Orpheus did what no mortal dared. He descended into the underworld. With his music, he softened the heart of Hades himself. The dead wept at his song. The Furies laid down their whips. Persephone, queen of the underworld, was moved. And so they granted him a gift. Eurydice could follow him back to the light, but only if he walked ahead and did not look back until they both stood beneath the sun. The fire trembles. You feel the ache in your chest. He walked, step after step, through darkness, silence, shadows. He could hear her behind him, faint, but there. And yet, doubt crept in. What if she was not there? What if it was all a trick? At the very edge of the light, just before the world broke into dawn, Orpheus turned. The flames shiver, flicker, and go dim. She was there. Her eyes met his, and then she vanished, forever. The storyteller closes his eyes. His voice is soft, like the last note of a song. And so Orpheus returned to the world alone. But still his music lived, a reminder that love, even lost, still leaves behind its echo. The story of Icarus. The flames rise again, golden, like the sun. You see a tower, a maze, and a man crafting wings of feather and wax. Icarus was the son of Daedalus, the greatest inventor of Greece. Father and son were trapped in the labyrinth of Crete with no escape. But Daedalus, clever, built wings, binding feathers with wax, to fly above the prison walls. The villagers' eyes widen as the fire shows wings spread, glinting in sunlight. But Daedalus warned, "Do not fly too high, lest the sun melt the wax. Do not fly too low, lest the sea swallow you." Balance, he said. Balance was the key. The fire brightens, the sky vast, blue, infinite. Icarus soars, laughing, free at last. The villagers smile, feeling the rush of flight. But joy overcame caution. Higher and higher he rose, closer and closer to the sun. The wax softened, the feathers fell, and Icarus, laughing still, plunged into the sea. The flames hiss, dimming to blue, like waves swallowing light. The storyteller speaks gently now. Icarus teaches us not only of pride, but of longing. He flew too high, yes, but he flew. He touched the sky, if only for a moment. And is that not also beautiful? To live, to try, to rise, even if we fall? The fire grows softer now, glowing low and calm. The storyteller's voice settles into silence, letting the weight of the tales linger. Traveler, these are not tales of heroes alone. These are tales of us, of love that slips away, of truth that wounds, of dreams that burn too brightly. And yet, even in sorrow, there is wonder. For it is in our falling, in our yearning, in our tears, that we become most human, and the gods themselves envy that. The villagers close their eyes. The night is quiet. The fire is low, steady, warm. And you too feel yourself drifting deeper, carried by these myths into a dream of both beauty and sorrow, where every heartbeat feels like part of the story. The gods and goddesses. The fire of imagination grows bright again, steady and golden. Above, the sky feels vast, endless, alive with unseen presences. You sense it, the realm beyond mortal sight, where the gods themselves dwell. Far above the clouds lies Mount Olympus, its peaks hidden in mist, unreachable by human feet. Yet here, within this dream, the mountain unfolds before you. Marble halls gleam in the light of dawn. Music drifts through the air. And in the great throne room, the gods gather. At the center sits Zeus. His presence is like thunder itself, calm one moment, storm the next. His beard is thick, his eyes like flashes of lightning, his hand resting upon the scepter of kingship. All gods and mortals alike bow before his will. With a flick of his hand, He can summon rain to nourish the earth, or lightning to shatter stone. Yet beneath his power lies a truth. Even Zeus is bound by fate, the oldest force of all. He rules, yes, but he does not rule destiny. Beside him, radiant and wise, stands Athena. She is tall, her armor gleaming, her gaze sharp yet calm. Goddess of wisdom, strategy, and war. Yet hers is not the chaos of battle. It is the order, the plan, the brilliance that turns the tide. She is the voice that whispers courage into the hearts of heroes. She is the protector of Athens, the owl-eyed goddess, who favors not brute force, but the mind sharpened like a blade. To hear her voice is to feel clarity, as though the fog of doubt lifts from your path. Across the hall moves Aphrodite, beauty flowing around her like sunlight upon water. Her laughter is soft, her presence intoxicating. Wherever she steps, desire awakens, hearts stir, longings are born. Yet her power is not gentle alone, for love can heal, but it can also wound, twist, and burn. Even the gods tremble at her touch, for no one escapes the pull of the heart. To see her is to remember every secret longing you have ever held, every spark that has ever set your soul aflame. Then, from the shadowed edge of the hall, rises Hades, dark robes flowing, his gaze quiet, steady as stone. He does not rage like Zeus, nor charm like Aphrodite. His realm is silence, the kingdom beneath the earth. Yet, in his stillness lies a strange comfort, for he is not cruel, as mortals fear. He is simply the keeper of what must be. All who live must one day walk his path, and so he waits, patient, eternal, his throne carved of obsidian. From the sea itself comes Poseidon, rising tall, trident in hand, his hair tangled with salt and foam. His voice is the roar of waves, his wrath the fury of storms. Sailors whisper his name before setting out, praying for calm waters, fearing his anger. He is vast, untamable, shifting as the tides. To see him is to feel the endless pull of the ocean, both beautiful and terrifying. And then, gentle yet vital, comes Demeter. She wears garlands of wheat, her eyes tender, her hands forever sowing life. The earth blooms where she walks, fields turn golden, rivers sparkle. Yet when her daughter Persephone is taken to the underworld, Demeter's grief freezes the world into winter. Through her, the cycle of life, death, and rebirth is told each year. She is the mother's heart, both nurturing and aching. There is also Apollo, radiant as the sun, his lyre in hand, god of light, music, and prophecy. His presence is balance, the harmony of art and truth, the warmth that guides but also burns. To hear his song is to feel the rhythm of the cosmos itself, the melody that binds all things together. And Artemis, his twin, hunts beneath the silver moon. Her bow glimmers, her hounds leap beside her, her steps are silent as the forest. She belongs to no man, no throne, no chain. She is freedom itself, fierce and untamed, protector of the wild, guardian of maidens, the cold beauty of starlight upon still waters. On the edge of Olympus stands Ares, broad-shouldered, restless, his armor stained with battle. He is the roar of war, the frenzy of combat, the lust for blood and victory. Yet though feared, he is not always admired, for while Athena brings wisdom to war, Ares brings only fire. His gift is chaos, raw, untamed, unthinking. And still, in him burns the truth of the battlefield, that war is never clean, never noble, always brutal. Nearby, with a mischievous smile, stands Hermes. His sandals bear wings, his staff twines with serpents, his movements are quick as thought. Messenger of the gods, patron of travelers, thieves, and merchants. He moves freely between Olympus, earth, and the underworld. To mortals, he is luck, chance, fortune. The twist of fate you never saw coming, the wind that shifts your course. In his laughter lies both danger and delight. And far off, in shadows lit by sparks of fire, sits Hephaestus. His hands are strong, scarred, his forge burning eternally. From molten metal he shapes armor, weapons, wonders beyond compare. Though cast aside at birth for his lameness, he rose again, stronger than any. His flame is not just of fire, but of perseverance, the will to create even when broken. One by one, the gods appear before you, each with their own light, their own shadow. They are not perfect, nor are they distant. They are mirrors of ourselves, magnified into eternity. Their loves, their angers, their desires, their flaws, all echo in human hearts. And as you watch them, moving like stars across Olympus, you realize they are not only the rulers of myth, they are symbols, reflections, whispers of what lies within us all. The storm of Zeus, the wisdom of Athena, the longing of Aphrodite, the silence of Hades, the wildness of Artemis, the laughter of Hermes, the endurance of Hephaestus, all these live within us, waiting to be remembered. The flames grow softer, glowing like twilight. The gods remain above, eternal, while you drift gently back to the earth below, carrying their presence with you. The fire before you glows softer now, as though it has burned all night. The air is quiet, the mountain of Olympus fading into silver clouds above. You can still sense the gods, their voices echoing faintly, like the last notes of a song carried on the wind. Their presence lingers in you, Zeus's thunder, Athena's wisdom, Aphrodite's desire, Poseidon's fury, Artemis's freedom. They are no longer distant beings. They are reflections inside you, eternal sparks of the human soul. The stars begin to fade, touched by the first light of dawn. You feel a gentle calm, as though the weight of centuries has lifted from your heart. The myths have spoken, and in their rhythm, you find rest. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and carry these tales with you. For the gods remain not only upon Olympus, but within every heartbeat, every storm, every dream. The stories do not end here. They never end. They only wait to be told again. And so, as the sun rises, you descend the path from Olympus, your steps light, your spirit full. You know this is not farewell, only the first chapter of a journey that stretches far into the horizon. Sleep now if you wish. Rest if you need, for when you return, the world of myths will open wider, deeper, darker. Heroes and monsters await you, and their voices call. When you next return, the fire will burn again, and the world will shift. You will not walk among the gods alone. You will walk beside the monsters they feared, the heroes they guided, and the trials that shaped them all. From the shadows will rise Medusa, the serpent-haired, whose gaze could turn men to stone. From the sea, the roar of the Minotaur within his labyrinth. From the edges of dreams, the three-headed hound Cerberus will guard the gates of the underworld. But where there are monsters, there are also heroes. Brave souls who faced the impossible and left their names written in eternity. Their stories are not only of battles and victories, but of fear, of longing, of choices that echo even today. So join me in part 2, step deeper into the dream. Let the myths guide you further, where shadow meets light, and where every story reveals not just the world of the ancients, but the truth within yourself.